We spend way too much time comparing ourselves to others, and it's killing our ability to find our own flow. The flow state is fickle. It's like Goldilocks and everything needing to be aligned just right with focus, clear goals, intrinsic motivation, and just the right amount of challenge. Not too hard and not too easy. Flow is worthy of the effort it takes to reach this state though. The feeling of effortlessness while performing at the limits of your capabilities is intoxicating. It's not how most of us are approaching anything that we do anymore. Dr. Michael Gervais calls this comparison trap that we fall into FOPO, fear of people's opinions. Instead of marching to the beat of our own drum and finding more flow there, we're preoccupied with putting on a good impression for others and holding their opinion to a higher standard than our own. Finding the way to get out of the trap of FOPO helps us to improve our well-being through experiencing more meaning and fulfillment, in part by finding more flow. So these are 5 ways that we can stop FOPO based on Dr. Gervais' book, The First Rule of Mastery. Stop the FOPO loop. We need to turn inward when FOPO springs up. Dr. Michael Gervais says that when FOPO arises, we follow a predictable pattern of response that he calls the FOPO loop. There's an anticipation phase, a checking phase, and a responding phase. During the response phase, negative patterns often come up because of the FOPO instinct. We will contort, conform, confront, or disconnect most often as a response to our fear of people's opinions. The healthier way to stop the FOPO loop is to respond based on your own internal standards. Check in on yourself in response to the opinions of others. When you know yourself and what you stand for, it becomes harder for the opinions of others to infiltrate your mind. A common opinion that causes a lot of stress for young people is picking a career. Everyone wants to have an outside opinion of what you should do when you grow up. With a relatively unformed set of internal standards, it can be really hard for teenagers just starting university to know what to do. So those opinions will often trigger the FOPO loop and lead to more negative outcomes. The next thing that we need to do is to stop defining our self-worth based on performance. You are already more than worthy as you are. I've struggled with a performance-based identity for most of my life. Performance-based identity is a belief about who you are based on the results of what you do. In school, my identity was formed from being a smart kid, but this false identity was shattered when I started down the pre-med route at the most competitive university in Canada. It didn't stop there though. As my obsession with competing in strongman took off, from there I was launched into an even more clear-cut identity based on performance. Win a competition or know that somebody else has beaten you. This became harder and harder to part with as I continued to get stronger and improve the skills that would inevitably help me to win more competitions. To stop defining your self-worth by how you perform requires that you have a conviction in the values and personal philosophy that dictates your life. The one thing that you can do to fight off the urge to base your value on how complete a task is or how well you perform on a task is by knowing what values you stand for. If I value the feeling of health and vitality that allows me to be active, there will come a time in my life when the performance-based identity of a strongman competitor can no longer match those core values. Knowing your values and having a personal philosophy that you can articulate in any moment is what stops you from the FOPO of defining your identity around performance. And I have a video talking about how you can find this North Star of your personal philosophy. So if you haven't seen it, or to continue working on defining that North Star for yourself, keep watching this video here. The next thing that we need to do is to stop assuming that you know what others are thinking. Simply ask instead. We think that we are much better at knowing what's going on inside someone's head than we actually are. And in a humorously designed study, Researchers wanted to see just how much time we spend preoccupied with believing we know what others are thinking. The researchers gathered students to be part of a group of observers or a group of participants inside the lab. One by one, the participants were asked to put on a t-shirt and enter a room full of other students. The shirt depicted Barry Manilow, and considering that I hardly know who Barry Manilow is, other than as a passing reference, I had to look it up so that most of my viewers would also be in on the joke. Barry Manilow was a musician popular in the 70s and 80s, and this research study was done in the early 2000s, so it would be well past the prime of his popularity to be rocking a shirt with his face on it. So these students were reluctantly going into a packed room, feeling extra self-conscious about themselves. The researchers wanted to confirm how many people would even notice who was on the t-shirt and compare it to how much that student wearing the shirt would think that it would get noticed. As you can probably expect, wearing the t-shirt was like a bullseye for self-consciousness, and the students participating assumed that over 50% of the other people in the room would notice the t-shirt with Barry Manilow on it. And in reality, less than 25% of people even remembered seeing the shirt with his face on it. The researchers also asked the group of participants that were seated behind a one-way mirror, and they more accurately predicted that only about a quarter of the people would notice the Barry Manilow shirt. So this came to be labeled as the spotlight effect. We tend to believe that others are paying more attention to us than they really are. But we're really bad at mind reading. Look up videos of bad psychic readings just to see how true this is. The most accurate insight into the thoughts, words, and beliefs and opinions of someone else comes straight from asking them. So if you want to get over the fear of people's opinions, just ask them for the truth instead of making the stuff up in your head. And then the next thing we need to do to kill this FOPO is to stop masquerading as a separate self. Humans by nature are social animals, but we've learned to identify as separate selves. We are not an island unto ourselves. As Dr. Mike states, our interdependence is an inexorable fact of life. But because we live in a world of rugged individualism, we have a hard time asking others for help or depending on our community because the opinions of other people constantly telling us that's something that's weak and you've got to be independent. You know what I find even more awesome than trying to do everything on your own? Having people that you can count on and turn to in a heartbeat when you need a helping hand. The nomadic lifestyle of online influencers and freelancers working from their laptop in a coffee shop in Bali that we see everywhere sounds like the most enviable type of adventure. It certainly makes for a sweet vlog and profile pic, but the message that only gets shared by the most vulnerable and open people is about how lonely they get when they're trying to do this. Living remotely off the grid may work for some folks, but the majority of people who try to go it alone and follow the digital nomad lifestyle struggle with being disconnected from friends and family back home. It may be worthwhile to experiment with for a season of your life, but keep in mind the need for community and look for ways to incorporate that even still, regardless of where your journey may take you. And then the final theme to stop worrying about what other people think is to stop living without a shot clock. Matt Vincent, a former two-time World Highland Games champion, has an online group that he calls the 1612. Now, if you know a bit of the backstory behind why he calls it the 1612, it's because this is how many weeks he realized he had left to live when his father passed away. And he's already several hundred weeks less this number since starting the group. The number one reason that we need to stop giving into the opinions of other people may be what you will have come to your mind when you're on your deathbed. The greatest regret of the dying is that they wish they dared to live a life true to themselves rather than a life others expected of them. Imagine playing basketball without a shot clock. The score of the game would be much lower. A shot clock puts pressure on the players to get to the point, to make something happen in the limited time that they have. A football game without a play clock could just be two teams sitting at the line of scrimmage doing nothing and running down the clock. Our lives are limited. We forget that we have a shot clock counting down. So stop living with FOPO and go do something about it. Here's how you can take action and do something about this right now. Next time that you feel the FOPO loop kick in for you, pause and take a moment to turn inward. Ask yourself what's true to your values instead of reacting in response to that other person. I just want to thank you for tuning into the video. I hope that you appreciated the cameo from Lewis in some of the shots. And if you're new around here, make sure that you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. A lot of the viewers that come in and watch any of the videos are not subscribed yet. That always helps to grow the channel and let me know what types of content are most relevant and interesting to you so that I can keep making more of that. And a lot of the themes, what I talked about in this video today, were from the book, The First Rule of Mastery by Michael Gervais, or Dr. Michael Gervais. He's the founder of the Finding Mastery podcast, which is really fantastic. He also has a lesser known audiobook that's only available on Audible called Compete to Create. And I did a video on Compete to Create from a few years ago that you can check out at this link next. It's another really helpful one if you're looking to find more ways to level up your performance and some of the key pillars to the high performance lifestyle that Dr. Mike talks about.